Hi folks, Sandro here with more cartoon news and shenanigans, and today we're actually doing a review of Amphibia. So it's over, folks. The show has come to an end, so if you do not want to be spoiled, I can understand that. Please click off the video, maybe come back once you're done, binge watching the entire show if you've never seen the show before, and I'll be here waiting when you're done, folks. But without further ado, I am going to be getting into it. Amphibia, the final episode aired 2 days ago. It was called The Hardest Thing. But I'm doing like a full review for the whole show. I'm not going to be reviewing one episode. I'm going to be like just, here were my thoughts on season 1, season 2, season 3. Amphibia always had that 3-act vibe where it was set up like a book. Season 1 is the beginning, season 2 is the middle, season 3 is the ending. And I've got a lot to say. I will tell you right now that I am giving the show a 7 out of 10 in my rating scale. Why do I get... Some people might say that's low. That's not really low. 7 out of 10 is it's actually closer towards the, a perfect score than towards the bottom, I would definitely say. It's not a mediocre show. I feel like a mediocre show would be like a 5 or a 6. This is a 7. I was debating 8, but I went down to a 7. And I'll explain like why did I go downwards instead of like upwards. And it really has to do with the final season 3. It had to do with a lot of seasons, but I mean, there's only 3 seasons. It was a little bit over time, but I think that you can really start to see the problems in season 3. So I wanted to give you guys my fair shake here. What did I like? What didn't I like? I feel like a lot of YouTubers, they review something and they kind of just like, it was a good show, and then like that's it. They don't tell you like any of the faults or whatever. But I'm gonna hopefully try and give you guys a couple of my opinions where the show didn't do so well in my eyes. Season 1, it's been so long, I honestly can't remember it that well. But for season 1, the ending was really... I remember the ending was really surprising. I don't like slice of life shows. This is one of the reasons I give it a 7 out of 10. Some people will say that's unfair. I disagree. I like shows that have like a lot of, action, the story. This show definitely has the action and the storytelling, but the action is very lackluster. I mean, it has the action. It's not the best action. You know what I mean? You're not going to get some like, show and jump level like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, all these types of shows. You're not going to get, Hunter, one of my favorites, Hunter x Hunter 2011, was it? Yeah, 2011. You guys need to go check that show out if you haven't seen it. It's so good. I really like that show. All these shows, and even some cartoons here in the West, you go back and look at stuff like Ben 10, like Ultimate Alien, Alien Force. Go back and look at some of these Ben 10 types of shows. The original Teen Titans. There's just a lot of great shows. Oh, Justice League Unlimited. These shows, they have great action, great storytelling all around, and I love them. They're some of my favorite shows of all time. Amphibia did really good, but it wasn't like masterpiece level. It was a good show, just not masterpiece level. So what I'll say, season 1, I think I had one outside, like, again, it's set up, we get a story. It reminds me of the Ghost and Molly McGee. Okay, this is season 1 of Amphibia. Okay, the Ghost and Molly McGee, is that what they're calling it? Yeah. The Ghost and so it's a story about this girl named Molly. There's a ghost named Scratch. We get this kind of story in the first episode, like, whoa, Scratch has to maintain. There's like this ghost counter thing. It's like a clock. And if things aren't miserable enough in the town of Brighton in the Ghost and Molly McGee, Scratch will be sent away forever, or he'll be like, he's already dead. He's a ghost, but like, his body, I guess, will be like sent to some kind of dimension and ripped apart forever. And we see it happen in the first episode. So there's kind of like a story, like if Scratch doesn't maintain the sort of misery in the hometown of Brighton, then he'll face the consequences and be eradicated, I guess, from existence. And that's kind of that's kind of where the show leaves you. You got one whole episode of storytelling. They sprinkle it in here and there. You get, like, I don't know, how many episodes are there now? I don't even know. We get a whole bunch of, like, just slice of life. Maybe there will be, like, one episode, okay, there's some episodes where Molly McGee makes a friend, Libby. Okay, that's important. That's fine. That's important. But where is this story going? We're how many episodes into the Ghost of Molly McGee and nothing happens? Like, nothing happens. That's what I felt towards Amphibia in the first season. Okay? For those who have never seen Ghost of Molly McGee, it's a slice of life show that just has, like, the smallest pinch of storytelling that never really goes anywhere. So season 1 of Amphibia, there was a couple, at least Amphibia had some, like, setups here and there, but, like the music box, like there's at least a mystery, like, okay, where did the gems come from? What is the music box? Like, how did she get to this magical world? There's at least a mystery there, and, it kept me watching. It kept me watching for sure. Whereas the Ghost of Molly McGee right now, I'm just like, if they don't start, like, cracking down on the storytelling, I'm just out on this show, So yeah, the first season was okay, and then we get to the final episode of the first season, which was the most memorable of, like, if that episode didn't air, I might have quit Amphibia. I was not feeling the show. I really didn't like it. It's not that I didn't like where it was heading, because I was like, where is this going? I don't know. It's just a slice of life show. Like Big City Greens or something. I don't know. It's like The Simpsons for teenage girls, but, like, with less adult jokes. But yeah, that was the feeling I was getting. I was going to be out if they didn't end on a strong note. Turns out they ended on a strong note. They have, Sasha there with Grimes, and, we see Anne. She's getting to know and be accepted by the frogs. Meanwhile, like, Sasha's over there doing her own thing. Marcy's doing her own thing, does Marcy appear in the first? I can't remember. I think they get to Marcy during season 2, but, like, Sasha and Anne, they have that big fight on the tower, and that was pretty sweet. I thought that episode ended at a really good place, and it kept me, like I said, if that episode didn't air, I might not have come back for season 2. So I'm really glad that first season 1 finale was really solid. Really solid. If I'll give this show one thing, it had really memorable final episodes for each season, right? Season 1, we get the tower fight scene, very epic little conclusion there. Season 2, we get they go to the human world. They get sent to the human world. And it's not something I was expecting. I wasn't expecting them to go back to Earth. I thought they were going to stay on Amphibia the whole time. Like, that's how the show was going to end. They finish their quest of Amphibia. They get the music box. They go back home, and they basically can't explain to their parents all of the nonsense and crazy stuff that happened. But we got a plot twist. Well, I'll get there. I'll get there in a second. Let me just say one other thing about season 1 that needs to be said. Anne has a phone. Okay. I know this is going to be a nitpick, but this pissed me off, okay? It pissed me off. Anne has a phone, okay? And I like this idea that this high school, the kids of today, even me, I've got a phone right next to me, I can't discount myself here. Everybody is very connected to technology, okay? So this show starts off with Anne, Sasha, and Marcy being separated from their teenage lives of cell phones and movies and, the technology, okay? So Anne ends up in Amphibia, in Wartwood specifically, right? And she has a cell phone. And the cell phone has a battery, as you do, right? You can see mine is charging right now because it was low on battery. Just to give you an example. And so there's an episode where, as you're watching the show, you're like, how is it that this girl still has battery on this phone when there's multiple episodes where they're like watching shows and things, and like most phones like drain out of battery in like less than a day, right? Like if you're using your phone all day, if you go out all day, you're like your phone is done. Like, you know what I mean? Like Anne is never shown to put her phone on like brightness. She doesn't put the brightness down. She doesn't really do anything to save batteries, what I'm trying to say here. And it's not like the biggest deal until they actually make it a big deal. And they have an episode where they have to go to this like electric centipede to recharge her phone. Now, in real life, if like the centipede zaps her phone, charging it to like 1,000,000%. Now, I get it. It's a cartoon. I get it. I hear you. But that was some bullshit, right? If you overcharge your phone in real life, it'll just catch on fire. It'll catch on fire. So Anne's phone did not catch on fire. And I said to myself, that was a shame. That was really a shame. I like this idea that maybe they could have gone down the road of Anne being an example that kids are so connected to their phone, they never stop and look at nature anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like, during the centipede episode, as I was watching it, I was like, this could be a great like episode to remove the phone from the equation, right? We would get to see Anne just taking in the nature of Amphibia, learning some kind of, like I don't want to say Amish, but like pioneer, being more of a pioneer, doing some like old school chores, making her own food and like that sort of thing, but no, they kind of like, I guess they, I guess they had to because of Disney. Like it's aimed at children. It's aimed at this show is aimed at like kids who are, I don't know what, like tweens, like what do you like 13, 12? What would you say the main age bracket of this show is? Like, right? It's like teenagers, tweens, whatever bracket you want to go for here, right? And most of us have phones. Most of the kids have phones. So I get why they needed Anne to have a phone, but I feel like that was a missed opportunity to do some kind of like meta commentary that we take our phones for granted, like we should maybe like put them down once in a while and go touch some grass. You know what I'm saying? We don't get any of that. No, that never happens. They just get Anne just gets her phone for the rest of the series with like 1,000,000 infinite battery. And I just wanted to bring that up because I felt that was a plot point that shouldn't have existed. I felt like maybe if they used magic, right? Maybe if it was a different explanation, like there was like some kind of magic that charged her phone, or I don't know. Maybe she had to ride a bike to charge her, like anything else. A centipede zapping her phone. It doesn't explode. It doesn't catch on fire. She just gets 1,000,000 infinite %, and we never look back on it. I thought it was stupid. I thought that was really dumb, and I thought that there was a lot more they could do with Anne being disconnected from technology and having to experience like life without her phone. So that's that. I guess, we can't change the past here. It's already set in stone. But if I was writing the show, I think I would have definitely changed that. And during the first season, I would have cut out a lot more of the getting to know the people of Wartwood episodes and focus more on the story, right? Focus more on the story. That's what I probably would have done there if I was rewriting that like first season. Second season, this is like where we go to like Newtopia. They do the whole journey. There was even an episode where they do a wacky like Gravity Falls episode crossover where it's like, hey, I'm what was it, like Frog Seuss and it's Frog Grunkle Stan. I don't even. It was just weird. It was a weird random Gravity Falls episode that was just there. And yeah, sometimes it happens. There's a bunch of crossovers in a bunch of Disney shows. Even Steven Universe had that weird episode with Uncle Grandpa doing a crossover. It happens. It's cool. But the second season, I think, was actually pretty solid. I think overall, the second season probably was my favorite. I did enjoy it. I thought the story, like, we were actually getting somewhere. We were getting hints as to, like, there was theories. There was like, where's this going? Where's this going? Where's that going? Season 3. Actually, no, I'll go back to the whole season 2 cliffhanger thing where they're now, they go back to Earth. I keep saying the human world, like they go back to Earth, right? What was it? San Francisco is where they said Anne lives, I think. Yeah, so they go back to planet Earth. I was very shocked by this. I was very shocked by it. I genuinely believed that they were going to stay on Amphibia the entire show. Like season 1, 2, 3, they were going to defeat the big bad guy at the end. They were going to go home, and they were not going to be able to tell anybody about what they'd seen because it was going to be like, what are you, crazy? Like Alice in Wonderland, right? It's like she goes down into the rabbit hole and she goes to Wonderland, and it's like, if you tell anybody about this, they're going to think you're insane and try and put you in a mental house or maybe put you on some drugs or something. Yeah, that's what we need. The secret Amphibia ending where Anne gets put on LC or I don't know, Adderall and other such drugs, antidepressants. Yeah. So we didn't get that ending. So actually, thank God for that. But yeah, I was very shocked by that season 2 ending. It really took me by surprise. And yeah, I liked it. I don't think there was very much wrong with season 2 of Amphibia. That's where all the story was being built. Like we get like the backstory, the music box is mentioned here. It's like, we get to see it in action, sending them back to Earth. We get like everything starts to come together in season 2, where it's like the first season was kind of like, it reminded me of Star versus the Forces of Evil, where it's just like the first 2 seasons of Star, it's just Star versus Ludo every week, Ludo, the little bird guy. And then all of a sudden it's like they just pick up the story, You know what I mean? It's just, that's what it felt like with Amphibia for me. It's just like, here's your slice of life for a season. Then all of a sudden we're in the story now. So season 2 was really, really good. Really enjoyed it. Not much bad to say there. Kind of wish all 3 seasons were more like that one. But season 3, I think this is where we are right now. It just ended literally 2 days ago. So it's still fresh in my mind. Season 3, we get the whole, we need to take down Andreas. We need to take down Andreas. Andreas isn't a good villain. I didn't think he was a great villain. I didn't even think what was the main villains, like the hive mind, what were they even called? Like it's his father. I don't even know the names. The father and like the rest of his ancestors that were like in the hive helmet, whatever you call it. The cluster, is that what they call it? No, that was Steven Universe, right? Is that what they called them? The cluster a second time? I don't know. Or maybe it was called the cluster. I can't remember. But yeah, so we got King Andreas. He's the sort of, not the final villain, but like the sub-villain. The, like, what do you call it? The penultimate? Is that what you would call it? No. The secondary antagonist. That's what it is. So King Andreas, secondary antagonist. We get the great story about Leaf later on in the season 3 there. About how like she basically is the ancestor of the planters. They even do the thing. They show for like a quick second that like Leaf's symbol was like the upside down, and then it became a P for planter. I thought that was really cool how they transitioned that in Leaf's backstory there. Where do we? Okay, let me backtrack. I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little bit too fast, but. Okay, so let's start from season 2. Let's not go to. I mean, I already talked about Leaf now, so it's too late for that. Let's go back to the human stuff. Okay, so we go back to Earth, San Francisco, Hop, Polly, and Polly gets legs in the season 2 finale. That's also something I forgot to mention, and that was cool. That was good character development there, and so we go back to the human world. I really didn't like that. I actually didn't like the idea that they went back to the human world. I kind of, like I said, I think it would have been better. This is just my opinion. Maybe the ending needs work here. Okay, my suggested ending where like Anne, Sasha, and Marcy go back home, and it's just like nobody believes them. Nobody believes them because Amphibia sounds too tall of a tale. I think it still would have been better to not go back to Earth. Just don't go back to Earth at all. Don't like though it felt wasted. Season 3 just felt like a huge waste of time in certain areas. That I don't want to say the whole season. There was good episodes. There was really good episode. All in was really good episode. But we go back to Earth. There's this weird, like, freaking, what is going on? We have Disney pushing the agenda. You have Mr. X, which is wearing lipstick. He also has a sidekick. I can't remember the sidekick's name, but it's a girl who dresses like a boy, and Mr. X is a boy who dresses like a girl. So we have, like, whatever, reverse drag going on here. So yeah, we've got that. They then introduce these, like, robotics experts that help Polly. By the way, they're lesbian, and they really want you to know it. They even put the pride flag in there in that one episode. Yeah, they really wanted you to get the agenda. We got it. We got it, Disney. We got it. Thanks. But yeah, so they they introduced a bunch of like human characters, like that one archaeologist woman. There was that other science like woman who opens the portal for them. There's just a whole bunch of like these random women that are introduced here. And we also get Anne's parents. So we get some of that like sort of season 1 slice of life vibe where originally Anne is taken in by the planters. Now that the planters are like fish out of water here in the human world in Earth. So they kind of have to adapt and be taken in by Anne's family. So that was cool, I guess. But like I said, we could have just cut all that garbage. We didn't. If they rewrote season 3, we could have just cut the human crap. None of that mattered. Like none of the human stuff mattered at all on Earth. Like none of that mattered. If they never went back, like if they stayed on Amphibia the whole time, right? You never need, like, what did these people achieve in the end? What did the parents, I guess the only thing we get, like, a closure on here is the parents know all about Anne, so we don't need to explain that in the final episode, right? So the final episode, we kind of just get a time skip, and we don't need to explain to the parents what happened in Amphibia because there was, like, the whole Earth invasion. In the final episode, they refer to it as it's been 10 years since the frog invasion, and people were questioning if it was even real in the first place, which I could see. I could see that in real life, right? It's like, did that really happen? You know, people are, you know, we really like to explain everything away, and sometimes there are just unexplainable things, so we just say it was an anomaly, or we try and explain it, even though maybe it was something magical. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't know. You know, like, I could definitely see, like, the government or Mr. X, like, convincing people that it wasn't real, and it was maybe just, like, some person with robotic skills that made, like, a giant, like, frog invasion show as a stunt. I don't know. There's ways the government could explain that away. As the people age, right? As society ages, more and more generations forget about it. Even though there was footage, they could just, you know, I could see, you know, 10 years passing, I could definitely see people starting to be like, did that thing actually even happen? You know, was that real? Was that a real invasion? Was it a joke? I could see the doubt. I could see the whole doubt there. That's an interesting thing to talk about, right? Humans getting tricked, humans taking things. I don't know. It's an interesting topic, you know. What's real? Reality versus non-reality. Dreams versus reality. What really happened, and how can you prove it? These are things that we tackle even to this day. Disinformation in the media, especially. Just look at CNN. CNN, the CBC. Yeah. whether you're American or Canadian or from some other country, I'm sure you have some rotten news companies in your country. And yeah, let's get back to Amphibia, though. Let's get back to Amphibia. So what was I saying about the human world? So we get introduced to all these like genius women, apparently. Yeah, so like we've got the archaeologist woman, like all these characters were just like women. Like Disney really wanted you to know like all the women are geniuses in this show. Even Anne's mom. And all of the men are either incompetent or they're just like silly side characters. Even Mr. X, like he basically fails at his job, you know, like he's supposed to be like a government agent, and he gets out, like he literally gets beaten by a teenage girl and some frogs. But like, yeah, he doesn't really do so well at his job. And I feel like most of the men in this show were there was very few men, by the way. Very, very few men in this show. It was very female-centric, like through and through. And all of the men end up being failures or incompetent or just like a joke or a gag. So yeah, it's just... this is how cartoons are now under Disney, and there is an agenda, folks. There is an agenda here for sure to make the men not strong and competent. And you could you could see it in like almost every show now. Except, you know, I don't want to say like every show, but a lot of the shows from Disney nowadays are, especially the ones that have storytelling, they're portraying the men to be very not strong and or have feminine like Mr. X, right? Most of them are just like jokes, but we do, for every like couple of these stupid, awful men characters in this show, we at least get like one Hot Pop and one Sprig. Even though I guess you could say Hot Pop is kind of like a joke himself. He's a farmer. He doesn't do very much, you know. There was that episode with Mother Olm where he does like make himself useful even though he's old, and they have a nice little chat, Mother Olm and Hot Pop, where it's like no matter how old you are, you could still be useful. So like Sprig and Hot Pop are probably like the shine out stars. By the way, Hot Pop is actually my favorite character on the whole show, followed by Sprig. And yeah, and then there's also even Grimes, you know. He's this big mean toad, and then he just like, what the hell? What happens to him after? He just he kind of just becomes a failure, you know. Even like Sprig beats him, even though he's supposed to be this like, you know, powerful toad. Like, come on, get out of here. The portrayal of men in this were not very good, in my opinion. And we got like, it was basically the female show through and through. But yeah, so we go back to the human world. We go back to... I don't want this to go on too long. I feel like I'm jumping around everywhere. But we go back to the human world. We do a bunch of like stuff. The robot invasion. Then we go back to Amphibia. So we go, you know, Amphibia, Earth, Amphibia, second time. And we're heading towards the end of the show here. And... so we do the whole final war thing. Okay, this is a thing that a lot of animes do. Naruto, great example. One Piece. So the ending of One Piece hasn't happened yet, but one of the characters named Don Flamingo in the show mentions a throne war towards the end. We're heading towards the end of One Piece. It's been many years. I've been watching or reading One Piece since the 90s, also watching the anime since... I don't even know, early 2000s. And so like a lot of these anime types, even Bleach, you know, Bleach was another big one that has like a final war arc. Most of these shows basically have a final war arc if they're animes. But like a lot of the times the cartoons here in like Canada, North America, United States, they don't do this whole big final war thing very well. I will say that Adventure Time did not do it very well, and I actually thought Amphibia, of all things, did it better than Adventure Time. If you don't know, by the way, I actually had cable television. I do not have cable anymore. We actually canceled our cable right around the time when the Adventure Time Actually, no, it was just a couple years ago. I don't know. When did Adventure Time end ago? Was it 2015, or maybe it was later? Actually, let me just look it up really quick. Adventure Time. I remember we canceled our cable right after Adventure Time final episode. Let me just see here. Come Along With Me. Yeah, when did this air? Sort by, let's see, is the 5th, September 3rd, 2018. That's right, I think the week or two after this episode aired, Come Along With Me, we canceled, like my whole family canceled our cable, and never again. We have not got cable since. Most people are just cutting the cord and watching shit on streaming services and on the internet. So we no longer have cable, but here's what I remember from the Adventure Time finale, folks. There was these teasers on Cartoon Network where it was like, oh my God, Adventure Time's ending. They showed like these teasers of like all these different characters fighting this final battle. You know, Adventure Time was a very long show. It had like probably 1,000 characters, like probably more than 1,000 characters in that show. And some of the more iconic ones come out for the final battle. And then you get to see the final episode of Adventure Time. 99% of the characters that appeared in that final war never even have a speaking role. The war is very garbage. It ends very quickly. They end up singing to defeat the final villain. So I really thought the final episode, like they did an awful job. Adventure Time's ending, trash. I thought it was just trash. So I will give it to Amphibia that it had a much better war ending arc type of thing here, conclusion. All In was a good episode, very good episode. And did I like it? I think DuckTales, I did enjoy DuckTales ending a little bit more than Amphibia. I'm trying to think of some. Oh God, Star versus the Forces of Evil. Amphibia had a better ending than Star. I really didn't like the two worlds merge together, and then we don't really get a happy ending in that show. It's not like Marco and Star get to be together, but like now the planet Earth is merged with a magical land. We literally see a giant spider just like running around like villages eating people. In the final episode, Mina Loveberry runs into the forest and never gets like caught. Star Versus was just not a good ending. Not a good ending. I think honestly, the last two seasons, I think season 3, as soon as they killed Toffee, as soon as Toffee dies, that show takes a freaking nosedive. I'm sorry. I think, what was it, the end of season 2? Or season 3? When did they kill Toffee? Was it season 3? I can't remember. Or maybe it was season 2 when he... were there 5 seasons or 4 seasons of Star? I can't remember, but I think it was the end of season 3. That's when Toffee dies. As soon as they kill Toffee, downhill, it never recovers. It just gets shittier and shittier until the final episode when it really goes out on a dark note. And this show, I really liked how they had the final war, but it was still underwhelming. They don't live up to like how the Japanese do it, right? And I guess you could say that's fair because the Japanese, they basically go week to week. They don't really have like a time constraint. You know what I mean? Disney's like, we're giving you 22 episodes, 24 episodes. If you don't finish it by then, too bad. So they have time, they have seasonal orders is what I'm trying to say. The manga in Japan, as long as it's profitable, One Piece has been going for like almost 30 years, right? Detective Conan, that thing is almost older than I am. It's still running to this day. Detective Conan, I think in Japan it's called Metente Conan, which is like which translates to detective in English, right? But yeah, guys, yeah. So Amphibia, the war arc. Let's talk about how the build up to that went, right? Let's talk about that because I feel like I remember shows for their villains. I really do. I think I remember shows for their villains. The villains here did not come to the party. They didn't deliver. King Andreas and whatever the Hive, what were they called? The Hive, the Cluster, whatever name they were giving them. they were not very good villains. Just not at all. Very forgettable. Just awful. Some people might even argue like King Andrius wasn't even much of a villain. He kind of just turns on his own father in the end and he saves the day. Yeah, this show basically had no villain. This show basically literally had like nothing going for it in the villain department. So why do I frown on season 3 so much? So I think a lot of the episodes were wasted in the human world doing nothing when we never really needed to go to the human world. And then when we finally go back to Amphibia, it's wartime, right? Like by the time they get back to Amphibia, it's like King Andrius, he was sending robots after Anne, preparing and getting ready for like a final battle where they actually go to Earth and invade, right? That was the whole gimmick here. They gather together all from season 1 and season 2, all the friends they met along the way, sometimes even their villains, like that mushroom spore guy. They get like what was his name? Jertonio, that kind of like Robin Hood-esque guy. They just gather a bunch of like people, Grimes' sister, They gather a whole bunch of like different like people from all across Amphibia that they met along their ways. And those episodes felt really wasteful. And some of you are going to say, well, why do those episodes feel wasteful? Although like, they did a lot of them. They did a lot. I like to call these the quote unquote recruitment episodes where they recruit people to join the battle, right? Why are these a waste of time? Because the final battle, they do nothing. They don't do anything. No, All In was a good episode, but holy mother of God, do the side characters barely talk and they don't do much of anything. The battlefield, literally, guys, this is the big, okay, they spent like 7 episodes recruiting frogs. And not just frogs, like a whole bunch of different like people from across Amphibia. And then what do they do in the final battle? They just literally, like there is action scenes of them destroying the robots, but like those robots are god awful. Not one robot does like any damage that is noteworthy to any of the resistance, let's call them, the Amphibia resistance. The robots do not do anything, like nothing at all of noteworthiness. So we waste all this time on these recruitment episodes for one episode where they barely show up and do anything. At one point, I'm pretty sure like Anne gets defeated or like, wait, what happens? Something like that, right? Like there's a point where like, I thought it was, Anne uses her blue powers and what happened there? I can't remember. They basically are like, oh no, we're done. Like basically like Anne gets like captured. That's what it was. They get captured. They get captured and like they go to where Marcy is. And basically they King Andrius announces like, hey, we've captured your leader, Anne, and like, Grime and like Sasha and like basically all of them. We captured them. And then the resistance fighters are like, oh no, retreat. They're just garbage. They were just bad. Wally, I guess, was kind of like one of the more iconic ones in the battle, I guess. They don't do much of anything. Neither does King Andrius. Literally, go back and watch the episode All In. King Andrius, he's like this big menacing guy. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go into the battlefield and wreck shit up. I saw him. He had a battle axe. I'm like, oh my God, he's actually going to maybe even kill some of these frog characters off. He's going to like end some characters here. And no, what does he do? They get an animation loop of him slashing an axe, and they do this like 3 or 4 times. He doesn't do anything. Much like the robots, they don't do anything to the resistance. King Andrius, this big villainous character, literally just swings an axe back and forth like 3 times and doesn't do like a whole lot, honestly. I almost forgot to mention that there is the whole, like when they do the whole Earth thing, right? The Earth invasion. When they do the Earth invasion, there is a showdown between Andrius and Anne. And I mean, Sprig helps, so that was good. Sprig was kind of like the main character outside of Anne, the secondary antagonist or protagonist, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was somewhat cool, but really though, in the end, they do. Andreas is just shit. They give him the letter from Leaf. So I mentioned that earlier. Leaf is kind of like the planter ancestor. In the first season, I think it was the first season, right? They established like there's catacombs under or maybe that was the second season. I can't remember. They established that there's like catacombs under the planter's like house, and Leaf like writes a letter, and it's just been in that room for like years. It's been in there. And then King Andreas. Good thing King Andreas happened to have the laser eye. Okay, so the only way to read this, there's nothing on the paper, okay? There's nothing on this piece of paper. But somehow, Andreas has the technology. He just so happened. Okay, we get two coincidences back to back. One is that Sprig took the letter, even though there was nothing on it, right? He reads the letter, he opens it up, and he doesn't see anything on it, but he puts it in his pocket anyway. Okay? Why would you do that? Nobody knows. He just did it. He just happened to do it. It was very coincidental. Then, it's very coincidental that the wind, what was it? The wind blows the letter out of his pocket or something like that, right? And then we get the third coincidence. This is bad writing. This is just bad writing. King Andreas just happened to be wearing his mechanical suit where he was able to see the red ink, and he got the letter and realized, oh, it's from, or does Sprig tell him that it's from Leaf? I think that's what happens. But he says I've got a letter from Leaf, and he's like, how do you know that name? Because Andreas is 1,000 years old. By the way, I did like that, though. I did like the whole, actually, wait, I don't like that. Hold on, let me get some water really quick. I have some issues here. King Andreas ruled for 1,000 years, and basically the reason they are able to sustain him that long is it is revealed that he's basically a cyborg. Like, he has mechanical implants in his body. I do have questions about this. I have a lot of questions. King Andreas and Newtopia are these he's a very powerful leader, right? And we do know that magic exists in this world, right? We see that, I forgot her name. Amphibia Witch Frog. Hold on, what was the name of that girl again? Maddie Flower. That's her name, Maddie Flower. This is the character that in the first season or whatever, she was proposed to Sprig. She has she's able to cast spells and things, and they're real spells. They actually work, some of them. And we see multiple times there's actually magic in this world. There actually legitimately is magic of some kind. And we see it. What's the woman who keeps the jewels, the gems? I can't remember, but she also has magical powers, it seems to be. And so the magic does exist in this world. We barely ever see magic touched upon. I thought it was interesting that King Andreas, he has this giant army. He has tons. He's probably rich. He has all these resources. And instead of just going out there and finding magic and finding a way to organically keep himself young, you have 1,000 years to find magic. Magic exists. It's very clear. Also, don't forget, let's call them the cluster or the hive mind of all of his ancestors. None of them ever found the magic in Amphibia. None of them ever found any kinds of frogs or salamanders or newts or whatever, bullfrog. They never found a single person who uses magic and could teach it to them so they could keep themselves young. I just find that hard to believe. How did magic... How has magic been alive all these years in Amphibia without them knowing about it? That just feels like a plot hole to me, that King Andreas wouldn't have magical powers or magic of any kind. They rely very heavily on technology, like weird, weird newt type of science, right? They use their own technology and machines and weird stuff. Well, their technology is better than what we have here because they actually have like robots that are capable of like, seemingly having consciousness to some degree. We do see that in Frobo, but Frobo, it seems to be a very special case. And that's another thing I didn't like about this season. While apparently they're in Anne's high school. While they were back on Earth, they're in Anne's high school, and apparently there's a robotics workshop, and they were able to complete, like, Polly learns from the lesbians how to do like mechanics and stuff, and Polly was able to completely revamp Frobo into this like weird pink abomination of a let me see if I can get a picture. Amphibia Frobo upgrade. Let's see. Yeah, how did they have the tools to upgrade like frickin' Newtopia's technology? It makes no sense. I'm looking on Google Images right now. Maybe there is a pic of it. Yes, there it is. I found one. Hold on. Let me just make my face a little bit smaller. Polly upgraded the Frobo 2.0 scene. So Frobo goes from looking like this, basically a pretty generic Newtopian kind of robot there. He goes from that to looking like some kind of transformer with like a hell of a lot of pink on him. Yeah. So I was not a fan of that. Or like, I don't like the explanation that they literally just went into a school robotic, like literally you went into a school robotics room that was very small. They actually showed what it looked like. And you were able to come out with a complete Frobo upgrade somehow. I don't know. I don't buy that in the again, it's a cartoon. I didn't buy that in the slightest. I thought that was gibberish. I'm trying to say, like, I'm trying to cover the entire show, and I feel like this is going on too long. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I guess it's time to talk about the final episode. So the lead up, the army, the final battle with Andreas was very lackluster. They just, like, it was a good episode, but like the army, Western companies really don't do final battles very well. I'll definitely say that much for sure. So we don't really get a very satisfying final battle from Andreas. He challenges Anne and basically says, Anne, if you defeat me, I'll call off the army and whatever. They end up defeating him. There's also Marcy. I guess I never really touched too much on Marcy. Marcy's whole story is that, like, her parents were going to move away and she didn't want to be separated from Anne and Sasha, which is really weird because they do a 10-year time skip, and in the final episode, they do a 10-year time skip. They kind of like gloss that over. Do we even see Marcy's parents in this show? I think we do, right? Maybe we don't. I can't remember. I honestly don't remember if we even get to see Marcy's parents. I think we do, maybe. But yeah, the whole gimmick there was Marcy was going to move away. Marcy didn't want to move away. And when there's a very heartfelt reunion towards the end here, right? The final episode, it's hard to talk about Marcy because she was such a key character in like the whole plot. But Marcy's highlights include basically trying to run away from home and stay in Amphibia forever. That was her in the season 2 finale. That's what it's explained, that she was going to move away. She didn't want to be separated, so that's why she kind of like sabotaged the whole gimmick there. And in the season 2 finale. And so then we get the cluster, which has taken over Marcy. They use her as a kind of a puppet host. And she at least Marcy ended up being a better villain than the actual villains of the show. What do you know? At least Marcy slices off Grimes' arm. That's another character I want to touch on. Grimes. Also, I want to talk about that cringe. I personally found it a little bit cringy that they did a musical number while Anne was using the Super Saiyan Blue power. against Andreas. I found that, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a show probably aimed at teen girls, so maybe they'd like that kind of shit. But it reminded me of the Powerpuff Girls Power of Four, okay? So in Cartoon Network, they bring in this black Powerpuff Girl that's apparently existed the whole time. You just never knew about it, you filthy bigot. And and she's better, she's stronger than all the other Powerpuff. She even has psychic powers. Yeah. So she's better than all the other Powerpuff Girls. And in that special, they kind of, they do that. They at the end of it, or was that a different special? That might have been, no, was it? Or was that the second time Blistina returns? Or no, I think it was the first episode we ever get of Bliss, right? It was like 4 episodes in a row, the Power of Four. Yeah, that's what they do. They fight like a giant, like, robot while there's like Japanese they do like a Japanese anime music thing. They do that here with Amphibia. They do the Powerpuff Girls anime gimmick thing where they're fighting a robot and Blistina is just destroying it. Funny enough, Blistina actually had, that Powerpuff Girl, the black Powerpuff, she has like cyan hair. Like, you can't make a better comparison. The Powerpuff Girl has the blue hair while Anne is using the blue-haired power. I cannot think of a better comparison, like, ever that would explain that one. But, yeah, that's what happens. We get that, I'm going to call it cringy. I'm going to call it cringy little, like, music scene of her going toe-to-toe with Andreas. And, I didn't like that. But let's go back. Oh, what was I talking about before this? I was, Marcy, or, is that what I was concluding with here? We're going towards the end. Grimes, that's right. Grimes' arm got cut off. What I wanted to say was that a lot of people in the community speculated that Grimes' eye, he had a slashed eye, and the episodes were like, we got all the episode titles before the season aired. So one of the episodes was called Grimes' Pupil. In that episode, Grimes trains Sprig to be stronger against his sister. And then at the end, he ends up defeating the sister, and the sister of Grimes joins the sort of, it was a recruitment episode, right? So they end up joining the resistance. But in the community, especially like in season 2, a lot of Amphibia fans thought that Grimes' eyeball, his pupil, he doesn't have the pupil. It's like he's blind in one eye. Many people thought that he had like a secret power, kind of like in Naruto, where some of the characters have like eye jutsus and things, you know what I mean? There's also theories in One Piece where Roanoa Zoro has like one eye shut a lot of times. I think he also has a scar over his eye. A lot of people think that like when Zoro opens his eye, he's going to unleash a power. So people speculated that maybe Grimes has some kind of like eye power. But no, because, the episode was called Grimes' Pupil, so people thought it was going to be about his eye, but I think, was it revealed that, like, cats scratched out his eye, or something stupid like that, right? I can't remember. It was a stupid explanation for how his eye got injured. But, so yeah, Grimes, like I said, starts out as a very menacing, like, villain type of character. By the end of it, he's just a weak little man who could, like, literally losing an arm. Like, just like I said, most of the men in this show are just incompetent, stupid. Like, is there even a competent man in this show? Like, even like King Andreas, he's like the ruler. He just ends up being like a weak little, like, sad, depressed man. Like, none of the men in this show are like competent in any way. Maybe like Anne's father, possibly. And, Sprig is like the only exception, but that's only because he's like literally this freaking secondary protagonist. I don't know, folks. I thought the men portrayal in this show was very, very weak. Very, very, very weak. What else do I want to touch up on here? So let's go towards the final episode. All In concludes with the moon. So the little, the cluster, like, helmet that it falls off Marcy, or Sasha cuts it, right? Sasha cuts it off, and, what ends up happening is it flies to I don't know how the hell, it had enough energy to fly to the moon, and then it's kind of, like, revealed that the moon was kind of maybe, like, a computer the whole time, like the entire moon. Wasn't it that Amphibia had 2 moons? So I guess they kind of hinted at this from the beginning, that like one of the moons was kind of out of place, right? I think like Anne mentions in the first season something like, what? Oh, Amphibia has like 2 moons or something, right? So yeah, there's that whole thing where it basically takes care of the moon, and or it connects. Sorry, did I say takes care? No, it connects and interfaces with the moon, and it takes control of it, and then it basically is just gonna wipe out Amphibia. It just decides that it's time to wipe out Amphibia. Andreas obviously has the cliche turn of heart against his father. So he sends his robots to go stop the planet, even though he doesn't really make a difference in the end very much. And then we get the most cliche yet bizarre ending that I thought this ending was bizarre, to say the least. Bizarre is an understatement. What happens here? Okay, first let's do the cliche before we get to the other stuff. The cliche is that whenever you have a final episode, Kid Cosmic is a show that just ended recently, and they did a very similar gimmick here. Very similar gimmick where you expect a character to, like, literally this show, like, okay, so in Kid Cosmic, Papa G, it looks like he's all set up to die, and give his life, we have the exact situation here, but like Amphibia's writing is just not good here. Not good. Mother Olm just appears and she's like, Anne, there's actually this way that you might be able to stop the moon from destroying Amphibia, but it'll cost you your life. And I'm like, oh, here we go. What kind of bullshit is this? How is she going to escape this one with the power of friendship? Usually in these stories, whenever something like this happens, it's like the character has to give their life. But this is a kid's show. There's no chance the main character was going to die here. Except she kind of does. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the bizarre ending that the writers went for. They try to subvert our expectations, but I feel like it failed. I really do. Oh my God. Here's what they do. Okay. So they, by the way, I do want to give a quick mention that I thought it was really cool that Marcy and Sasha got their Super Saiyan gem powers also. The music box crystal powers. Let me see, is there a, I don't know if I could find a picture of it. Probably not, right? Really quick. I don't think so. Frobo. Wait. Oh, I got a picture of it. Never mind. Hold on. Let me just show you guys really quick. It's kind of far away, but this is what they look. I think Sasha actually had the coolest uniform here out of all the characters, design-wise. She had the best design out of all the Super Saiyan type of forms here. And, I think Marcy's was underused. Like, they kind of don't, they only get a quick minute to use their powers. It's kind of a shame. I would have liked to see them maybe in season 2 awaken their powers more. Let's go back. So that was cool that we got to see what the other 2 look like when they get to use their powers and what they can do with theirs. And it was pretty cool for the whole 2 minutes that it occurs, but yeah, folks, that's all we get from that. And then the cliche ending, they do it 2 minutes. They're destroying all the robots. They're stopping the cluster, the moon, the whatever. And then their powers start fading. They specifically mention, I thought that was interesting. They specifically mention that the reason that their powers ran out before Anne's powers ran out was because Anne had the powers for a long. Who was it? Marcy does. Was it Marcy or Sasha? They're I guess we're not as used to using our powers as you are, so they run out of their powers very, very quickly. But Anne, she asked the gems. She does exactly. I was like, okay, they wouldn't have brought that up 2 or 5 minutes ago with Mother Olm if she wasn't going to use it. So she whispers to the gem, lend me your power or whatever the hell. And, or she asked the gem to lend the power. And yeah, she gets the power of all 3 gems, and it's too much for her body. It's basically the Infinity. It's the Infinity Gauntlet from freaking Avengers Endgame, where Tony Stark uses it, and he basically ends up, going. He gives his life. But Avengers Endgame, that was a much more tragic death. Here we get a gimmick. We get a stupid gimmick from the writers, and I'm not a fan. Okay, so what happens is Anne uses the 3 gems. She uses a wave. She uses her magical wave. There is a cute little scene in there where she says the greatest treasure in all of Amphibia is not the music box or the stones, but the people of Amphibia. And you kind of get a ghostly little silhouette of Anne remembering like all the people. That was a nice little touching moment there. She wipes out the planet, or the moon. She wipes the moon out. And then, she dies. They actually killed her, but like it's weird. It gets weird. See, I said before, we get a cliche and a bizarre ending. That was the cliche. Now it's time for the bizarre ending. Where do you think they freaking go with this one? This was some writing. How did they get? Maybe if they foreshadowed it. Maybe if they did a lot more foreshadowing, that like there was kind of a god out there. Maybe I would have bought this. I don't buy it at all. This ending felt so shoehorned. Here's what I think happened. Okay, I think that when they first created Amphibia, okay, they wrote down like 100 notes of where the story was going. They're like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This needs to happen here. This, And then they kind of left the ending where they're like, okay, when we get to season 3, we'll write the ending. And then at some point, I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner. And the ending that we get is that God, like not like the God, like not like a Christian God, some kind of celestial god that isn't really named. It's just a thing that kind of exists. Anne gives her life and dies, and basically this celestial being that sounds like a child. It really just sounds like a kid. It basically says to Anne that you died, and she actually died, but the celestial being, which is I guess it's not all powerful. I guess the being is not all powerful because it doesn't seem to be able to bring Anne back from the dead. But what the celestial being that's unnamed says, it's unless it was named in the credits. I don't know. I never checked the credits to see if it actually had a name. But the celestial being from outer space basically tells Anne that she died, and before she died, he took her consciousness and made a freaking copy of her. What? Why did you go down this road? I feel like the writers really wanted people to talk about this like as an ending, you know what I mean? Like, let's just, instead of having a super cliche ending where Anne ends up being okay in the end, and, her friends are mourning her, but then she's like, did you really think I was dead? It kind of still happens anyways. It kind of still happens anyways, but it's different, though, because she's like a copy. The original Anne died. Anne actually mentions that it's kind of messed up, and it's going to give her like maybe some drama later on in life, or trauma. That she's just a copy. She's not the real Anne. The real Anne died. That's creepy as shit. Didn't something like that happen in Adventure Time? Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know. But so she dies. She ends up saving the day. The celestial being tells Anne she's gonna live. What is it? Anne is 13, and the celestial being says that like Anne has 78 years. In 78 years, when Anne passes away naturally of dying at age 91 or something like that. I think I did the math at the time and I got like 91. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone correct me. If you even watched to this point, what are we at? 1 hour and 4. Oh God. Okay. We need to go faster. We need to go faster. Holy shit. Holy shit. Yeah, so this is the ending. This is the ending they thought would be a good idea. Anne dies, and she gets replaced by a copy, and a celestial being tells her that he is impressed with her. He or she, whatever, the celestial being says, "Hey, Anne, I created those the gemstones, those powerful gemstones that were like the celestial being created those gemstones." And they basically tell Anne that everybody who has ever used the gemstones always used them for their own gain. But Anne was the very first person in over like 10,000 years or something she was the very first person to ever use the stones to help people or save people. And so the celestial being says, like, I've been around for like God only knows. I'm looking for someone to like succeed me as the next celestial being. Again, I'm getting some weird Adventure Time vibes here. But wasn't like one of Finn's reincarnations just some like godly celestial being? Yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter if I've seen this plot before, whatever. But anyways, yes, the whole celestial being thing, it basically, the celestial being tells Anne that when Anne is like, I'm only 13. I'm not going to take over for you, right? And the celestial being says, okay, when you die in 78 years or whatever, when you've matured, when you've hit your peak, I will give you, I'm assuming they're going to retire or give Anne the power or whatever's going to happen. But we go to the final episode. We get to see the final 10 years later. Right? This is the final episode I'm describing here. But, I mean, like, we get the final, the last couple minutes here, we get a time skip. We get to see Polly. We get to see Amphibia. We get to see, like, all the characters, what was the guy's name? I can't remember. The guy who gets jacked. I can't remember. What was his name? Teddy? No, it wasn't Teddy. The guy... You guys remember the blacksmith guy? He gets like super jacked, and then he mentions that like he stopped working out, and then he became like thin again. So there we have another example of a failure of a man. Great stuff, Disney. And we get to see them erecting a statue of Anne. We get to see what was it? Like I said, Polly is now like an adult frog. That felt really weird. It felt really weird seeing Polly as an adult. Or as a teenager. I don't know. Is she a teenager, an adult now? Whatever. 10 years later, so I guess she's a teenager or something by that point. But yeah, Sprig, she's actually almost as tall as Sprig, so I guess Sprig is actually a very short character, surprisingly, now that we know that even 10 years later, he doesn't grow that much. And his hair, apparently their hair grows, though. Don't worry about that. Their hair grows. Polly also gets hair growing in, so I guess she's going through puberty now. So that's where we leave off Amphibia, where like basically they're erecting a statue of like Anne, and basically it leaves, I think Amphibia leaves off in a good place. I do. They kind of like are rebuilding the town and whatever they're rebuilding, and then we go to Earth. We get to see Earth, right? And what we find out here on Earth, just to close up really quick, I didn't really like the whole 10-year time skip, right? One of the big plot points of season 2 was that Marcy's parents were going to move away. So it seems that actually happens. They just move away anyway. Marcy, they get separated. What a baffling ending this was. I don't know. What a weird way to end it. But basically, instead of the 3 girls like being together, right? Instead of the 3 girls like sticking together thick and thin, being friends, they showcased a bunch of times how like Marcy, she would always be like watching her movies, wishing that Anne and Sasha would be more friendly, like would take interest in her. That was a reoccurring theme. 10 years later, I don't think they should have did that. They should not have. They have the very heartwarming goodbye. The 3 girls are saying goodbye to everybody in Amphibia. Sprig gives her a hug. That was a very iconic. Actually, there it is, right there. I see it. There it is, the very sad. That's a very sad and emotional scene for sure. But but then we just go, as soon as they go through the portal, we get the whole 10 years later. I'm like, this doesn't, no, why? Why are we going 10 years later? I wanted to see, like, immediately afterwards. I wanted to see Anne. What happens with Mr. X? Does Mr. X be like, you guys can't ever talk about this? Like, the government, like, what? What about the girl? There was I forget her name, the old woman who's like a scientist. They were able to open the frequency. They were able to find certain frequencies in open worlds. I thought that, like, Anne would, like, try and maybe, like, open a portal back to Amphibia. No, we don't get that. They actually close out, like, it's done. They use the crystals. They give the celestial being gives them, like, 3 additional crystals for, like, 1 more good use of transportation back to Earth. And, like, I was there thinking, like, if that old woman was able to, like, get that portal open once, maybe she could figure out, you know, using science, some other kind of combination to make those crystals. And no, that most of the human characters aren't touched upon again. We go right to the future where, like, Sasha, what was Sasha doing again? She's writing a book, right? They said that, right? She's writing books. Marcy, I believe they mentioned something along the lines of she's taking care of kids. Maybe she's a teacher. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head what they say it really quickly in passing. And she says something about kids, taking care of kids. And then there's whoops, my light just whoopsies. And then there's Anne. It's so it's interesting. Anne ends up being like a frogology. I don't know what the term is. They said it in there. Is it a frogologist? Here's look. There's an image. Somebody has the image. She ends up opening up her own little, like, I don't know if she works there or if she owns the place, but, like, she has her own little place where she takes care of frogs. And she's some kind of, like, I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of her title. She had a title. Was it a frogologist? I don't know. But she basically works at, like, one of those places, like, you know, like an aquarium where they go and see the fish. It's like, it's one of those places. You've been there before. You've seen it before. So yeah, she works at one of those like habitats where the frogs are there and the other animals. And she calls this little pink one Sprig. She's like, she's talking to kids and she's like, this one reminds me of my old friend Sprig, or like a dear friend of mine. And yeah, so that's how it ends. It ends on an interesting note that, like, Marcy never, I guess they stayed in touch, but no, they didn't, because they said they hadn't seen each other for a while, and this was 10 years later. They were meeting up. It seemed like they were meeting up. Maybe they don't do this very often. It seems like the 3 of them actually drifted apart. What the hell was this ending? What was this ending? Why? Why would they do this? I don't know what the heck this ending was, folks. Why did we jump 10 years in the future? Why? I don't know, but we don't. So maybe there'll be a movie someday. I don't know. Apparently, the show is just over. It doesn't matter because Anne is gonna. You know, I guess they're never gonna see each other again unless we get a movie or something. But Anne basically is gonna die in, what was it? What did they say? 78 years. So 10 years later, she has 68 years left. Then she's going to become the celestial being when she dies, I'm assuming. And this is the ending we get. A celestial being was responsible for all the magical bullshit that happened in Amphibia. I don't know, folks. I don't know about this one. Bizarre, baffling ending. People said I've heard people say this was a 10 out of 10 episode. How the hell was this a 10 out of 10 episode? How was this a 10 out of 10? You got to explain it to me. You got to explain it to me, folks. How was this a 10 out of 10 episode? The writing for that celestial being came out of nowhere. Maybe every season, if they had the celestial being, like, watching Anne, or like, talking to Anne or like anything. Give us more of this celestial being. You don't just shoehorn this in with 5 minutes left. What the fuck? I'm sorry, guys. What a baffling way to end the show. What the hell? Still better than Adventure Time. They didn't sing. Okay, they didn't sing their way to defeat the final villain, so all was good. They actually used violence, good stuff. Anne actually gave her life. It was the cliche ending. Actually, at least Adventure Time, they kind of like committed to. I forget her name. The Simon's like love interest. What was her name again? I can't remember. I can't remember the name of the girl. But like Simon basically loses his love interest, possibly forever. So at least Adventure Time committed to more of a dark ending. Amphibia wanted to be dark, but it was like Anne is dead. She is turned into like white dust, or like she is turned into like a white, I don't even know what happened to her. She lost all of her colors. Like, I guess the crystals took the color right out of her. And then she like faded out, and like that was it. And then they're like, oh no, Anne is dead. And she's like, hey guys, I'm actually still alive. It was the exact cliche ending I was predicting. As soon as they said that there was like some secretive spell that you can do to like wipe out the enemy in one go, but it'll cost you your life, I'm like, okay, we're going down the cliche ending road here. It was just silly. This ending was silly. It was a silly ending, but it still it was pretty solid. It was I don't know. This one finds the sweet spot between like stupid and good. It's like it's so good it's bad type of thing. So yeah, that's why I got to give it a 7. I got to give it a 7 out of 10. Too much time wasted on Earth. Too much time recruiting. Too much slice of life here and there. And I think they could have did a much better like finale or final battle. Andreas was a god-awful villain. The cluster, at least the cluster tried to like... The cluster technically using Marcy and controlling her at least got Grimes' arm off, which was like the only notable like thing they did. I guess you could say that they cost Anne her life, but like... They made the celestial being made an exact copy of Anne, so like who gives a shit if the old Anne died? No one even cares. Does Anne even tell anyone? I don't think so. Do Marcy and Sasha even know they're not even like friends with the real Anne anymore? These questions are never answered. We just get a weird ending where she's like a zoologist or some shit, and she's like taking care of frogs. And what was it? The Amphibia yeah, I think that's what there's like a little flag up there in like the final like couple minutes where it's like she's running the Amphibia exhibit, and she goes and like hangs out with Marcy and Sasha as she's older. One of the things that I like that they didn't do this time, one of the things that many of these shows have been doing like nonstop, is they've been pushing the main characters to be lesbians. It's specifically lesbians. Like Legend of Korra and Asami, I keep mentioning Adventure Time. You had Bubblegum and Marceline. Like it keeps going and going. Like there's so many, there's many of them. DuckTales did not do the whole lesbian ending thing, but Star Versus actually had Jackie, one of there was a love triangle there where it was like Jackie, Marco, and Star. So I would say that like technically Jackie was one of the main like love interests. She ends up being a lesbian with like some girl from France or something. That was the fuck out of nowhere. What was that even? So you keep seeing it in whether it's Disney shows, whether it's Nickelodeon shows, it doesn't matter. Cartoon Network. You keep seeing it time and time again. They just end up being lesbians at the end for whatever reason. Usually interracial and interspecies lesbians, like Bubblegum and Marceline there. And, Korra and Asami are both humans. I actually, is Korra, wasn't she like, I don't know. Wasn't Korra like part spirit or some shit? I don't know. I don't even know. You guys let me know. But yeah, Ravia, what was that thing? She had like a spirit inside. I don't know. Whatever. But that's basically it. Amphibia, 7 out of 10. I thought they could have did a much better ending with the war. I basically gave all my points. I don't think I need to reiterate all of these. And a baffling ending, a real head scratcher. Why would they end it like that? I don't know. But again, I do still appreciate that they didn't go the lesbian route. They did have the what was her name? The two salamanders were like pushed at the end. They were blushing in the final episode, but like those weren't the main characters, I wouldn't say. The princess and the guard Newt, they definitely were some sort of lesbian couple there, but like they didn't put, like, it was still there, but like they didn't push it on. Many people suspected Marcy, Anne, or like one of these three were going to end up together, right? Or two of the three were going to end up. So that didn't happen. Very nice, very nice. Great to see that they didn't just keep shoehorning the same old lesbian trope in. Or I guess homosexual. They don't you don't really see it being like a gay ending very often, where they do two guys. It's mostly two girls. So yeah, let's just call it the homosexual ending trope at this point. And yeah, so glad they didn't like necessarily do that with Anne, Marcy, and Sasha, and they kept that with the Newts there, the Princess Newts. So yeah. That's going to be it. 7 out of 10. Could have been better. Really enjoyed the animation. The animation was fantastic for a cartoon of like this scale. Definitely enjoyed the animation there. Anything else? The music was pretty memorable, I think. Some of the songs there are pretty memorable. Except for that cringe battle between Anne and Andreas. That was not great. And this show had a couple songs. There was like the band episode where it had a couple songs here and there, but like that's memorable. I think like the theme there. What is it, an OST theme? The original theme there is pretty solid. I think so. And that's where I'm going to end it. 7 out of 10. Definitely a good show. Maybe even a great show. Maybe I don't like giving decimal. I don't like doing decimal. Maybe I would round it to a 7.5. I don't give decimal, so I'm not rounding it to an 8. I'm gonna give it a 7, solid 7. This is a good show. Did I like regular show more? Some of the old. I'm trying to think of some of the other cartoons like Adventure. Like overall, I thought Adventure Time was a better show than this show. I just didn't like the ending of Adventure Time. Similar here. It's like this. Like I thought this was a good show, but the ending was just baffling. Regular Show was one of the very few shows that had a great show and a great ending. It actually had a great ending. Pops. Oh, I don't want to spoil it for you. I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, DuckTales was pretty solid ending there. I really wish that show went for another season or two. What a shame. I'm talking about the reboot, and the original could have gone for a few more seasons too. Hey, I wouldn't stop them. But yeah, that I'm trying to think of what other shows have I been. I don't know. Ghost and Molly McGee. That thing hasn't been going anywhere fast. I'm trying to think what other show. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm usually watching like Pokemon every week. That show has been running since I was a freaking kid. I've seen it every week for almost 20 something years. Yeah, so I don't know where to end off here, but yeah, that's my rating, 7 out of 10. Please like my video, folks. Please share the video for all you Amphibia fans. This is a long fucking video. 1 hour and 23 minutes. Nobody is getting to the end of this thing. Okay, if you got to the end of this thing, I actually was holding up a spoon. What do I got here? A fork. I got a whole bunch of like weird things here. Yeah. If you manage to get to the end of this episode, be like, hey, Sandro, I saw you holding up that spoon, just so I know you got to the end, okay? Wooden spoon. You got to say a wooden spoon. Yeah, there you go. So please like the video. Please share the video to your friends, especially ones that love Amphibia. Subscribe to the channel. And why not watch an ad for your boy Sandro? This video probably had a shit ton of ads in there, I think, right? Mid-roll ads. Yeah, this one probably had a bunch of ads in there. So if you watch those all, like 2 thumbs up, God bless. And that's going to be it from me. So hope you liked my review. Even if you didn't, thumbs down the video. I don't give a shit. See you later, folks. Peace out. Bye-bye. And I guess we got to find a new show now that Amphibia's over. See you later. Bye-bye.